Hi. Want to do this live because I have something to talk about. Uh, Something related to a worker's state. No? So, the issue that I have with mostly definitions of socialism is that they highlight that the state controls means of production, but that socialism is by definition uh, a state-run economy, of which I disagree. Doesn't necessarily mean that the state is not involved, but what I think socialism is that it's a workers' state, and that the workers are the ones that control the means of production, not necessarily the politicians or administrators of the state. But the administrators of the state must be doing it for the workers, or the workers should be the ones that administer the state and the economy. That's what I think socialism is. That's by the workers. Uh, yeah, and I wanted to think to say that socialism can help or can benefit society in terms of okay, I want to in fact to improve uh, how to improve the economy, that the tax and is the problem with tax that when tax is collected, it is driven straight up into national government instead of moving from lower government into, or maybe the local government into provincial government and then to national government. The tax directly moves straight from taxpayers and it goes directly the to the national government, which I think is a problem because no in national government no one is accountable, or no one can be held accountable. Instead of having this, the tax directly going to national government, the tax should move from local government, and local decides how much to use. In fact, the national government, uh, the national government must have a portfolio or a budget on which the local government can decide what they can do with the budget, or what they can do with portfolio from national government and provincial government as well. So the plan, or then local government has to do a planning or a plan to what it decides. The local government can decide what it wants to do before the tax collection, and during the tax collect or before the tax collection, the local government decides what it wants to do with the tax. Then the approval comes from national government if it's okay for local government to do what it wants to do, as well as provincial government also has to make a plan into of what it wants to do with the tax. And after the national government approves the tax, the allocation of tax for local government as well as provincial government, the tax is collected and then it's distributed from locally first, and then a percentage from local collection goes to provincial government, then a percentage from provincial government goes to national government. This is because the money that is allocated can be held accountable. Like the national government can oversee what has been done, instead of like the money going straight to national government and then national government pouring money into provincial and as well as local. So if local government decides to waste money, the national government can hold the administrators at local level accountable, and they can be jailed or fired or be told to bring back the money, but they can be held accountable. So that's what I'm saying. Like the tax must not move directly to national government, then it goes down. It must instead move from local government, from taxpayers to local government, and then from local government to provincial government, then from provincial government to to national government. So each time, so there's a plan for how much local government can use, how much provincial government can use, and then the national government can approve how much money can use. And also, the national government also has to use it has to make a plan. So to make a plan as to what's the direction of the tax of the money that would be used, that we collected. What's the direction of the money, or what's the direction or the intention of the national government to do with tax money? As maybe there's a plan to improve schools, so the local government will improve its own schools, and then provincial government improve the schools, and then national government improve the schools. Like it's levels. Yeah. The reason is to hold the administrators accountable, and also like the state has to have, in fact, the judiciary government, the judiciary section of government, it has to use a polygraph test. Like the polygraph test have to be used in government, so as to hold the so that the courts do not infringe or do not make up things to how do I say, like when magistrates court issue a when magistrates court uh, finish a trial, that trial must be objective. Either it's in the Supreme Court or it's in the magistrate court. The trial must not change. The evidence must be the same, whether it's tested on Supreme Court or it's tested in magistrate court. Wherever the trial is done, the the outcome must still be the same. So I think it's better to use a polygraph test for all trials, so that even if a trial is mismanaged or people try to mismanage the trial, the evidence is unquestionable. Like the polygraph test will prove if the testifications are true or not. So for each trial or for any court case, there should be a polygraph test for any testimonial, and the time management. So a time must not go on for like a year or 2 years or how long ever. The time must go for a specific time. Like all trials must go for a specific time. Like there's no special trial that goes for many years. If a trial is taken to court, there's a time date, there's a due date for that court to finish the trial. So as not to waste money from taxpayers and just paying for trials again and again and just repeating the same trial. So that's what I think is that a trial must be polygraph tests, testifications are on polygraph tests, and everything is just. Well, a polygraph test must be used also in the in the police stations. So when people are suspected of doing a crime, before they are taken to jail, they should go through a polygraph test so that the police don't hold innocent people, uh, don't jail innocent people. So there's a polygraph test in the police station and there's a polygraph test in courts when there's a trial. So that's what I think is that it should be done for the courts and police for police investigation. For had oh yeah, uh, there's a what I think should be done for as a as the way of administrating a state. Like instead of having political parties, we should have the state should have no political party. Like the political parties should not exist. What should exist is a system of Soviets, like the Petrograd Soviet or Saint Petersburg Soviet. So in that sense, like the workers are the ones that get taken to parliament, or the workers are the ones that are administrating the state. The state is not administrate. The state is not administrated. The state is not administered. The state is not managed by politicians. the state is managed by workers, so the workers must be relevant. According to the workers must be relevant with their fields, a a of minister of police must be a police officer, minister of military, or okay, maybe okay, but a minister of police officer, minister of law, or something related to law must be a lawyer. Must be a judge or a lawyer. Minister of health must be someone related to medicine or health services, like someone who has a career within that field, instead of bringing someone who's unknown, like maybe a politician who's just relevant to a political party. This must be an administrator of a field, or administrator of an industry, must be relevant to that industry. So each minister must be relevant to the 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 industry to which he or she is administering or managing. Yeah, and also I thought that, like, the Soviets could do that, and like, instead of taking the people from like political parties and putting them down and putting them into the administrating roles, like the workers decide who should be taken to to local government, provincial government, or national government. Like, it's the workers who decide. So there could be elections. There could be nominations for the people who will serve at the government. For each nomination, for each position, the people have to be nominated and then randomized. Like, you nominate a person, and then the selection will be random. Like, there'll be a vote. There'll be a first nomination, and then there's a vote. From that vote, the top 50 or top 20, like whatever number it is that is reasonable. Maybe top 50 or top 20 or top 30, whichever number. So from that number, there's random selection. Like, maybe use any random selector instrument or a computer to randomize the selection. But whoever gets selected to the position must be randomly selected, instead of uh, being selected as a popular person, or as a as a person of favor, person who's favored by a group of people. Like, it must be someone who's just capable of doing. That's the minimum thing you should focus on, is that the person is educated, is relevant to the industry, and maybe has a research qualification, because a research qualification is necessary for looking for further solutions into things. So a person must have a research qualification like NQF 8 or honors degree. Yes, I think that's better education. That's better. That's a better education qualification is that a person has NQF 8, which is an honors, like a minimum research qualification, because minimum research qualification is NQF 8, so it's honors. And if people wanted NQF 9 or NQF 10, which is the masters or doctorate, then there would be a few people who are capable of occupying the office, of which that could cause a problem, because there are fewer number of people that will be selected, as maybe 10 or 2 or 5, like very few. So the reason why it should be randomized, or there should be a large number, and then from that large number there's a randomization, is because the ministers must not form a faction. There must be no factionalism in the Soviet, or in the system of governance. Like, there's no division as to someone favors another person, and instead of just focusing on solving a problem, like there's a factionalism, or there's a popular sentiments for individuals or personalities. There's like growing personality support instead of like focus on solving problems and building solutions and working with each other. So that's what I think is that there should be a large number of samples of the nominees, and then from the nominees there's a there's a vote in election for maybe that election top 50 or the top 50 elected people. One will be selected through randomization. So that's why I think is that each minister or each department has to go through randomization so that there isn't a development of cult of personality or corruption, like because corruption needs people who trust each other. So if people are not trusting each other or people are not loyal to a faction, like it's just a random selection, like there's no one who's selected by another person for being in favor of that person. So it's just a random selection. And then from that random selection, like there's a stranger and another stranger and another stranger. So it's strangers working together, but the strangers are working together to solve a problem. They're not working to hold positions or to accumulate wealth or to do corrupt things or even lobbying. Like randomization can help against lobbying. Like the lobby groups require loyal factions. So you see, if it's randomized, like there's a low chance of corruption. I think, and it's my view. So other things that there has to be randomization, and the people who are elected must have qualification, like minimum qualification should be a research qualification like NQF8 or honors or any like a minimum research qualification. And each minister or government official should have a period of time to work on the government office or administrative office. Like a minister can't work in the office for more than 4 years. Like there should be a rotation so that another person can be selected to occupy that position. Like the position is not is not for one person or for a person to stay in for many years. So at least at most should be 4 years. Like 4 years after 4 years, another person has to be randomly selected and elected and sent into the office. Like a person who has qualification and work experience. Like the work experience should be at least uh, 5 years minimum work experience on that field, not necessarily on government or related jobs, but like if if uh, if a person is to be in charge of Minister of Health, if a person is to be Minister of Health, the person should have relevant uh, uh, work experience on things of health. Maybe it's a nurse who has work experience of 5 years, it's fine. A doctor, 5 year experience of 5 years is fine. But there must be honors or research qualification that you know that are the ones who solve problems. So if workers are the ones who are in charge, more problems could be solved instead of just waiting for political parties or politicians to do. There will be more solutions for problems. So that's I think that yeah. So the stuff the thing I do to the things that I support or I think I should be put in, should be used in selecting the ministers is that should be relevant work experience, uh, which is 5 years work experience on anything but something related to that industry, and research qualification, and there should be rotation. Like a minister can't, or a minister or president can't stay for more than 4 years. if there should be a renomination or re-selection, it should be done randomly. Like a minister can't be in the same job without randomization or without another nomination. Like if it's after 4 years, it should be a election or nomination and then randomization from that election. So it's a relevant work experience, randomization, relevant education, and randomization when should be administered. When selecting the presidency, I think there should be a triumvirate presidents, like three presidents. So in this system of three presidents, like a triumvirate or troika or whichever one, the three presidents. So each president has the same powers, same executive, same responsibilities, same privileges, same everything. But now, when selecting the presidency, each president has 4 years. Like, there's no president who goes beyond 4 years. Like, also the presidency has to be randomized. No, the randomized does not randomized. The presidency would come from the ministers. So if a person has done ministerial jobs, like has been a minister or has been involved in state governance, like as a local government, provincial government, or national government, has been a minister or a chairman of a Soviet, the chairman of a local Soviet or chairman of provincial Soviet, the person can be nominated and voted to be president. On presidential duties, there's no randomization, but there should be popular vote, like a popular person or person with largest number of votes gets the presidential role or gets to be one of the presidents, one of the triumvirate presidents. So each term has 4 years. So when a president is nominated, uh, they don't have to be nominated all at the same time. One can be nominated before the other, and the other can be, and the third one can be nominated before the two presidents. So when in this system, too, the reason why they should not be nominated all at the same time, or they should not be put into presidents all at the same time, is because there should be continuity. Like the presidency does not the change of presidents does not cause a drastic change in governance. Like the continuity is still there, like the trajectory or the direction of uh, of the way of the way of the economy or the way of the society is still the same. Like there's no pick one side. There's no sides. Just one president after the other after the other. It's like it's president. Like if you nominate a president in 2022, another president can be put in place in 2023, another one in 2024, but they all overlap. They overlap each other. Like they don't get selected all at the same time, and this because like there should be continuity in presidents in the direction of presidents. The presidency become uh, does not become left, right, bipolar or something. Should be not should not be there should be not there should be no differences between the administrative work of the presidency. The only thing that should be focused on is how to solve problems and the solution to problems. So if maybe there's a there's a if there's a problem with maybe the first another if a presidency has a problem with another president, or if a president has a problem with the previous president, instead of like removing the policies or the which the other president approved of, the next president should at least should at least provide alternatives to what the previous president submitted or what the previous president suggested. So the next president should put a new policy, but that policy should not uh, should not stop the other policy. It can slow it down. It can slow down the other policies, but it should not stop it. As it if it stops, if a president stops another president's policies, then the issue could be bipolar issues now. We could have bipolar issues instead of trying to solve problems. We could be going through the stages of bipolar presidencies. So there should be continuity in presidency. Like if the next president has a problem with the president should not stop the other policies, but should instead should could try to slow down the other policies. Could look for ways of slowing it down or look for ways of finding alternatives to that other policies. But the other policies can also be stopped at a later stage, like if they become negligible or no longer important, then they could be reversed. But if they still are important or still active or still new or still or they still have some importance to people, then those policies should be slowed down or the president should find new alternatives instead of like blocking the other policies or completely removing them. So you see, there should be continuity in the presidencies instead of bipolar leadership. There should be like continuity and cooperation. So that's why, like, I think there should be a triumvirate presidency and there should be continuity in the presidencies. So the presidency is selected from ministers and is selected from Soviets, like the ministers and the executives in Soviets, whether it's the ministers or the chairman or the yeah, like the ministers or the chairman of the Soviets, and the president, the national presidencies, the national president, the national presidencies, because there are three presidents. So from that national presidency, uh, the the foreign diplomacy should be handled by the presidents. So there is no minister of foreign affairs. There should be no minister of military. The minister the military the responsibilities of the minister of military should be the presidency. The responsibility of minister of foreign affairs should be the presidency as well. Because if because the presidency has to handle diplomatic issues, whether they are hostile issues or good issues or good relations. The presidency has to be one that that handles foreign issues. Like the military issues, the president should be in charge of the military or should be commander in chief of the military. There's no secretary of defense or minister of military or something. There should be just the the general from the military or field marshal from the military, and then the field marshal responds to the triumvirate presidents, and then the diplomats or the foreign affairs issues are handled by the presidency as well. So all issues related to foreign affairs, whether it's military issues or diplomatic issues, are all in the presidency. And the the military should not serve for foreign affairs. Like the military should okay. The military the how the military should work is that 40% of the military should be allocated for foreign affairs issues. Like 60% 60% of the military should focus should should stay in local should not go into foreign conflicts. Like only 40% can go. If 40% is uh, is is reasonable. Like if like but like the military can't go beyond 40% for foreign affairs, for foreign conflicts. Like 40% is the maximum number, is the maximum percentage of the military that should be involved with foreign conflicts. Like 60% of the military should remain behind and prepare for invasions or external threats, but 60% should stay behind. It should not go and fight foreign wars. So like 40% is the maximum number that should be allocated for foreign conflicts. But the other 60% should remain behind. And okay, uh, like the reason why it should be not be that should not like military should not go too much to like the military should not go into foreign conflicts is because there's too much money that's get wasted or that's unaccounted for because everything is just for as an excuse. Everything can be used as an excuse for military intervention. So that's what I think wastes money. I think it wastes money. I think there's money wastage when military is constantly constantly fighting foreign conflicts. Like 40% should only go, and the 40%, whether it's military equipment or military personnel, like only 40% can. Maximum is 40% that can go. And when the military needs assistance from the police against external threats, the military has supervision of those operations. But when the police need military for domestic issues or domestic threats, the police have oversight of the military of the operation because the police have to be the ones that oversee domestic threats. Like any threat that is domestic has to be handled by the police. Any external threat has to be handled by the military. Yeah, and yeah, because I think there's a wastage of money when like money just goes and constantly going to fight external wars and stuff like that. But I think there could be a better management of money if military does not constantly go overseas and fight foreign wars. If there are foreign wars, there should be a coalition of governments across the across the world to fight a military threat. If it's not a local threat, but if it's a local threat, then 100%. If it's an external threat, fighting. If it's an external threat invading the country, then 100% of the military should be involved in that conflict. But if it's a threat far away, then 40% should be involved, or maximum 40% is involved. And other countries should also be involved. Not only one country, and then that one country is the one that loses many people or loses many equipment or loses money in that foreign war. So, and what else? Oh yeah, I think the state should have more control of the economy when it comes to heavy industries. The heavy industries should be state industries. Like most of the heavy industries should be state industries, whether it's electricity, the industries of electricity generation or industries of okay, I don't know all the heavy industries, but heavy industries should be mainly should be heavily controlled by the state. The light industries or the consumer industries, the industries just for the consumers should be not should be lightly controlled by the state. Like the state should not be heavily involved when it comes to light industries. But for heavy industries, the state should be absolutely in control. Like whether it's like there should be regulations. If the state is not the one controlling that company or that business, if it's a heavy industry, the state should implement regulations like regulations to ensure that there's a safety from that heavy from any crisis or disaster from that heavy industry. So there should be regulations which are enforced by the state. There should be heavy regulations from the state for industries which are not for heavy industries. If the state has the SOEs, which are state enterprises, they should be mainly focused on heavy industries. Like the SOEs should not go into light industries. The light industry should be the private sector and light industry should be private sector and small should be private sector. The state should mainly focus on heavy industries, or it should mainly focus on heavy industries. Like the light industry should be small regulations, or just to ensure that there's no corruption or crime or things that are things or like the state should not be too involved with light industries. The light industries are consumer based things, so it should not be heavily involved, but the state should be heavily involved with heavy industries. Like the SOE should be the ones that control mainly the heavy industries, or should be focused on heavy industries. If heavy industries in the private sector is not owned by the state or not in the state's hands, then the state should put regulations so that there's safety and there's proper conduct in that private sector heavy industry. So for the private sector, for light industries or just private sector in general, there there should be increase in worker cooperatives, as in the company is controlled by workers. Like the workers are the ones who do the administrative work or the management work. The workers are the ones that do technical work. The workers are the ones that do research work. Like there's the three sectors in the worker cooperative, like the technical work, research work, and management work. So there are no shareholders. If someone wants to invest in the worker cooperative, the the person must be a worker within the company. Like there's no external investments. If there are external investments, then the company will have to rely on external influences or people who are not working in the company, whether they have good intentions or not, but it's unreliable. So the worker cooperative should have investments from within the company or within the cooperative. The workers should be the ones that invest in that company, in that worker cooperative, and all profits of that worker cooperative go to workers. The profits don't go outside, or maybe the tax, except for the tax, like the tax goes to the state, but the other profits go, all of the other profits go to workers within the company uh, on that worker cooperative. So the worker cooperative should have three sectors, no? The technical, research, and management work. So for all these sections of the of the worker cooperative. There should be rotation, like a manager or a person who's doing management work is not gonna shouldn't be a manager should be not be a manager indefinitely. There should be a period for how long a person can do management work, and for each person to rotate into management duty, there should be a crash course into how to, or a supervision or a crash course into how to effectively do that job. Also, for technical work, there should be supervision or crash course into how to do effectively that job, and also research work, how there should be crash course and supervision. But the crash course and supervision should go for at least 6 months, at most 6 months. So after 6 months, a person has to do all the work by himself or herself. There's no help. There is help, but it's no longer a supervision or a crash course. It's cooperating with people or assistants or working together. But there's no longer supervision or teaching the person the the course or something like that. But there should be just like, but a manager should not stay for more than 4 years also. Like 4 years on executive management. Executive manager should not stay more than 4 years. There should be a randomization or rotation, a randomization and rotation, so that there's no corruption and there's no factionalism and no corruption. So we randomize and rotate. So each person rotates to a career to which, or a industry to which, each person rotates to a position to which he or she is educated. Like engineers rotate into engineering roles, teachers rotate in teaching roles, unless you go to executive role. Then if you are going to executive role, you have to learn executive a crash course on executive roles. Like you will have to be the executive of uh, of teachers, and then you have to know management skills of how to manage the the executive role. So the the the, the CEO also comes from workers. So the CEO or managing director or chairperson is also a worker. So the person is selected from workers. So for a person to be executive, there should be a popular vote. As in, if you want to be executive, there should be a popular vote from relevant workers. So if you want to be executive on on education, maybe executive or of education, like in the company or in the cooperative. If you want to be executive of education, you have to come from education. If you want to be executive of medicine or health, you have to be relevant to health and medicine. If you want to be executive of law or in charge of lawyers, you have to be educated, relevant to law education. So to get to be an executive, you have to be educated, relevant to that industry, relevant to that career. But to be a managing director or CEO, a person who is in charge of all the other fields, like a person who is in charge of the executive of education, executive of health, executive of engineering, a person who is in charge of all that, has to come from within the other executives. Like to select the CEO or managing director, you have to be from the executive, from the C-suite, from the C-suite. But for you to be in the C-suite, you have to be select. You have to get a popular vote. So a popular vote will take you into the C-suite role or the executive role, and then from the executive role, you get a popular vote to be in the managing director role or CEO role. So, but the but in order to be, but you can, but to be an executive, you have to get popular vote to be executive, whether it's the executive role or the CEO role. So, but in the lower stages of management, like the managers, the managers that are not in the C-suite role or the managers that are not in the executive roles, those managers are randomly selected. Like there's a nomination, and then from that nomination there's random selection. So in order to be in the nomination for management role, you have to be you have to show that you can work and you're not lazy or have bad have bad intentions, or you're not capable of working. So in those lower management roles, the ones that are not in the executive, there's randomization and popular vote. So you get popular vote, you get nominate. There's randomization and nomination. So there's nomination, whether it's self nomination or other people nominating, and then from that nomination, a not the nomination, and then there's a randomization. And from the randomization, oh yeah, there should also be a polygraph test. So to make sure that there's no one who's a polygraph test every 6 months. So no one is corrupt or doing bad things in the company. So like 6 months, the polygraph test to make sure that everyone is working, or everyone is not being corrupt. So yeah, and but the management role is the lower management role is nomination and randomization. The executive management role and CEO or managing director, it's popular vote. There's no randomization for the executive roles. To be the executive of a field, you have to get popular vote. To be executive of a Oh yeah, you have to get popular vote after you have done 4 years. Like you must have 4 years work experience in the company. So you are not like you are not a newcomer. So you are not someone who comes in yesterday and then becomes an executive. You have to get at least 4 years work experience in the company, and then you can be an executive. For CEO managing director, you have to be among the executive executive roles, and then from executive roles you can get a popular vote and be the CEO or managing director. For you to be a lower phase or lower phase manager or manager who's not in the executive, you have to have at least 2 years. At least 2 years. Like after 2 years, there's a randomization. Every 2 years, randomization, like a new selection. So for lower phase management, for lower phase roles, lower phase management, every 2 years there's a randomization of managers and a randomized selection of managers. For executive roles, there are 4 years, 4 years, not randomized, 4 years popular vote for a new manager, for a new executive. For lower phase, 2 years for a new manager, for a new lower phase manager. So when a manager is rotated, whether it's a lower phase or executive phase. When a manager is, whether it's a CEO, lower phase manager, or a technical manager, or a research manager, or whatever manager, if someone is rotated, the rotation can move like from person can move from being a worker or from being a technical work or research work into management work. If you're moving from management worker, you can move from management worker, you move to back to technical worker or research work. Like you don't become a manager and then you switch off to another management role. You become a manager and then you go back to being a technical worker or a researcher. But you don't repeat the same job again and again. You don't stay in the same job for like consecutive. You don't stay in the same job consecutively. You rotate, you become a manager. If you don't make it to become a CEO or managing director, if you're not selected, if you don't win the popular vote or popular nomination for being the managing director or the CEO, you go back to being a technical worker, or a research worker. So the salary of any worker within the company, within the cooperative, is- should be should be like should be the average of all the workers within the company. Like the okay, the there should be like, okay, after tax has been paid, like the profit has been made, and then the tax money is paid, then the money that is left, or there's 50%. Okay, 50. Okay, the money get profit. The cooperative gets profit. From the profit, tax is paid. For the money that is left, the remainder of the money is split in half. 50% goes to the company to maintain the cooperative, to maintain the machines or tools, or to buy new tools, or to maintain the equipment, or to build new things, to build new houses, build whatever. But whatever remainder, the money that stays, 50% goes to a company. And oh yeah, and also to pay the other investors. So the company has investors, but the investors are the workers within the company. So 50% goes to paying for equipment, paying for buildings, paying for rent, paying for whatever, and then the other percentage of money goes to, no, no percentage. The other money within that 50% goes to paying the investor workers, the workers who invested in the company, the workers who are investing in the company, and then that's it. Then the other 50% of the of of the remainder, it goes to as a salary to all workers. So it's gonna be the 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 50%. Okay, the 50% goes to equipment and everything to maintain the company. The other 50% goes to salary of workers. So all the workers who worked or who are working, there'll be the money divided by average by the number of workers. So the average is for the workers. I don't know how to explain it. But 50% goes to maintaining, 50% to salaries. So the other 50%, uh, the other the 50% which should go to maintaining the company, maintaining equipment, should all a small percentage of it to go to paying the workers who invest in the company. Then the other 50% is completely for salaries, the salary of workers. So from that salary of workers, the two criteria that should be looked into. The salary should be based on the level of education the person is in, as well as work hours. So if a person has done work 8 hours every day, the salaries are paid weekly. Yeah? The salaries are paid weekly; they're not paid monthly or yearly. Like every week, every Monday salary or every Sunday salary or wages. I don't know wages or salary, whichever one. But every week, the money goes to workers. So the criteria is 8 hours in education level. So for 8 hours, if you've done 8 hours of work every day, so the salary, complete salary goes for that 8 hours as well as education level. So the education level is the ten education levels. So there's NQF, there's level one. For level one, is people who have foundation phase education. Level two, people with intermediate phase education. Level three, people with what is it? Okay, level one it's grade R. It's grade R. Level two, grade three. Level four, it's grade six education. No, grade nine education. Yeah. Grade 9 education. Level 2 is grade 6 education. Level 4 it's grade 12 education. Level 5 it's higher certificate. So level 5 it's higher certificate. Level 6 is a diploma from university or college, I think college, but NQF6 is level 6. NQF7 level 7, so it's a bachelor degree or advanced degree, but NQF or whatever NQF 7 level 8 is NQF 8 level education, so it's honors or degree with NQF level 8. NQF level 5 is NQF, no, level 9 is NQF 9, level 10. Okay, so all those levels are going to be the ones that account for the salary of workers. So the workers with the lower phase are gonna with lower with lower levels will get lower salaries. The ones with highest levels get higher salaries. So each level accounts for the salary of towards workers because the company has to invest in skills, or the cooperative has to focus on skills, like to encourage skills or to hire people with skills. So the more the education, the more the skills, or the more the benefit from the company because of your skills. So for each NQF level, there's a there's a reward. Yeah, the reason why we show the salary is based on two criteria, which is the education level as well as the 8 hours, is we, because we need to ensure that there is fairness. I think I don't know, but education matters as well as the working. So education and the skills and the working. So the there's a, there could be people who will be complaining about the difference between engineers, doctors, and maybe the STEM modules and and the STEM careers and artistic careers, that they are not they shouldn't get the same salaries because the STEM careers are difficult than the artistic careers. But it's important to acknowledge that salaries or profits don't necessarily are determined. Profits aren't necessarily determined by how hard a career is, or how not necessarily determined by the hardness, I think. because artists and entertainers could get more salaries than people who have PhDs. See, like maybe a YouTube artist can get big salaries, while a PhD person is poor or does not have that much money. So, like the salary should not the the difficulty of the career should not dictate the salary, but instead the commitment to education, like even if it's education which is not demanding, like you see, but uh, so the salaries should okay. The salary should not be determined by the difficultness of the education, but instead by how valuable or how important it is to a society, like how, because people can invest can people can get more investment, more people or consumers can commit to investing towards people who have uh, education which is not difficult. You see, like YouTubers or something, like they get huge salaries, but people who can have PhDs might not get that, or people who might have hard degrees might not get that high salaries. Like the actors, they have high salaries. The actors and entertainers. So like, why you should focus on why should so why the other way to think about it, as to why it doesn't really matter, is because if the company does not see the importance of hiring those relevant, or if those people aren't working, or aren't uh, there's no reason to hire them, right? There's no problem to that they will solve, or there's no need for them. There's no need for entertainment from them. Like, if you're hiring a artist, if you're hiring, if the cooperative is hiring, and then there's the people who are actor who are artists, and then there are people who are doctors, that the cooperative will have to hire the people who are useful, or people who have importance, or who will be people who will be working during the work, because there will have to be rotation. Like everyone will have to go through rotation. So if if there's no process of rotation, or there's no okay, like the workers in the company, in the cooperative, all have duties. Listen, so the workers who maybe are useless. You see, like they don't work, or they there's no problem, there's no duty for them. Like they are just they no longer serve a purpose. You see, those workers could be laid off or fired because there's no duty for them now. So the importance of not really okay. The reason why I say it's not really necessary to highlight that one career is harder than the other, or that there should be more salaries for doctors or engineers or people who are STEM educated than artists or other people who are not in STEM, is because the the careers which are necessary will remain regardless of the conditions, or what it's like, what society is like, what the economy is like, or something. But they will remain regardless. So the careers that are important will remain. The ones that are not important will fluctuate. So if the careers are related to art, and then there's no need for art, then those workers will be laid off because there's no duty for them now. they're just they're just doing nothing, or they're not working. You see. So if it's so the default, like I think it's just unnecessary to make to complicate the salaries by making statements that the hardest careers should be those that get paid more. Like just pay people based on the level of skills or how proficient or exceptional they are. Because if you get PhD or get higher degree, like you're proficient in that skill, so just higher. It's just 8 hours in the education level. If people have PhDs, then they are exceptional in those skills. If people have lower degrees, they're still good there, you see. But the level of salary is 8 hours and education level. It's not how hard education is or how it's how important if the company the cooperative will 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 hire people or will keep people who are useful, like the people who are solving problems or people who, who are solving problems, because the profit will be made from solving problems, or the society will improve from solving problems being solved. So if entertainment is not solving problems, then the entertainers will be laid off. You see. Or if the entertainers have no use, like they there's no value in entertainment anymore. Like people are focused on maybe aid, maybe there's focus on health or something. So if entertainers are no longer useful, then they either have to change course or to find a new way to make entertainment valuable, or they have to they have to find a new career. So, but I don't think it should there should be a stress about the the, the hardness of education, just the importance of the skill. Like if you have the qualification level or NQF level or level of education, like if you have PhD, you're proficient, you're exceptional in the skill, you're the best, you have the best skill, or you're educated in that skill, like you you're proficient in that skill. So that's what I think should matter. Like it's the 8 hours and the level of education. Like the work experience does not matter to the salaries. The work experience matters to management. Like if you want to be a manager, you have work experience. Like the management does not get external salaries or better salaries or something. Like the salary is just two criteria is education level and work hours. So what is it, the management gets the same salary as the research workers and technical workers. There's no difference in salaries. There's only difference in management. Like the manager will have to be the one that enforces discipline, so as to workers to not be like there's no laziness or uncommitment to working or people just not working, but the management gets the same salary as workers and everyone else. The management just enforces and directs and do management things, but the salary of work salary of all workers is the same, except if you no, it's not the same. The salary of workers is based on education and education level and 8 hours and the investment. If workers are the ones, if some workers have invested and other workers do not invest, the workers who invested will get uh, percentage profit from the money which was from the money which was invested from the money from the section which was used to to maintain equipment. I don't know how to explain it, but there should be if workers invest, they should get a small portion of profit for their investment. And but the salary is based on level of education and 8 hours. So if a worker is sick or is absent during a day of work, the worker has to inform or report that he or she or they will not make it to work, or there's some problem, so that they knew there should be a replacement for that work. So when a worker is being replaced, the salary that should have gone to the worker which is sick or worker which is absent, that salary goes to the worker who is who is replacing that work. So if worker A is absent, worker B works for worker A, or does the duties of worker A, then worker B will get a portion of the salary from worker A, as in the worker was absent during that day. So a portion of that profit should go to worker B instead of the salary just going to worker A, as in the other worker did not do 8 hours. So 8 hours must be accounted for, and the worker B was so worker B was the one who was doing the 8 hours for worker A. So worker B should get the portion of that salary for that 8 hours he or she what they did for uh, yeah. But I think mainly the reason why I feel maybe this video is 1 hour 12 minutes. But the initial thing I wanted to say, but I just went out. The initial thing I want to say is that the the uh, socialist movement or socialist development or issues or points, should say, they mainly revolve around activism. Like it's always calling out people or putting pressure towards the government or individuals to solve problems, instead of like focusing on developing systems and developing institutions. So by by developing systems, I mean the way in which things work. You see, like the way in which money is printed and money flows and all of that stuff. Those things should be those things should, like, the socialist movement should not only focus on like guilt tripping people or making people guilty about things and then expect people to change or make things bad. Like the socialist movement should focus on building institutions. The institutions should be controlled by workers, as well as building uh, systems. The systems should also be controlled by workers. Like the institutions could be the police. Like the police should be the ones that control policing, or so that the safety of the community or safety of the of the state or safety of everyone in the country should be should be administered by the police, instead of like bourgeoisie coming in and putting lobby money or lobbying for police to investigate their agendas or to do their bidding. So the workers should be the one that administer their own work. It's like, you know, like and mainly like to develop systems is to develop things that society runs by. So you see, and also develop institutions. So the institutions could be banks or the bartering system or bartering institutions or whatever. But you should focus on, instead of just focusing on rhetoric or focusing on talking about things. They should focus on building things like building systems and building institutions. So the, the stuff that I think are more relevant, are more important are Soviets and worker cooperative. The Soviets can be one that manage the state instead of political parties or bourgeoisie lobby groups, the bourgeoisie lobbies. So it could be the Soviets which are run by Soviets who are run by workers. You see, the the Soviets, as I explained, that the election comes from workers, the relevant workers. They elect the relevant leaders or relevant executives or relevant administrators. So for each policy, the policies which should be introduced, the policies which are long term, the policies which are longer than 5 years, those policies should be voted on by everyone who is relevant to that policy. If it's a policy relevant to education, then that policy should be voted on by everyone. If that policy is relevant to education for more than 5 years, everyone should vote on it. If a policy is everyone who is relevant to education or who works in education should vote on. If a policy is relevant, if a policy if a policy is relevant to education, but it's for lower than 5 years, or it's 5 years or lower than 5 years, then that policy should be voted on by representatives of uh, of the workers, as in the people in parliament who are relevant to education can vote on that policy, like the local Soviet, the national Soviet, the provincial Soviet, can the work the representatives or the administrators can vote on that policy. But if it's a policy for more than 5 years, then every worker who is relevant to that policy should vote on it. If a policy is a general policy, like the policy is not centered around a industry, then that policy it's a general policy. Then everyone should vote on it, whether someone who is a worker or is not a worker. If it's just a policy which is general, then everyone should vote on it. But again, the policies are administered by the Soviet, or is they are written by the Soviet by the administrators in the Soviet, like the people that write up these things, the people that write up the policies are people in the Soviet, as in no one from outside or no one is lobbying for a policy. You see, the policy comes from within the Soviet or comes from workers. So yeah, uh, uh, yeah. So if it's a policy which is general, everyone votes for it. If it if it's a policy which is general for more than 5 years, everyone votes on it. Everyone in the country is allowed to vote for it. If it's a policy lower than 5 years, but it's a general policy, then everyone in the Soviet, everyone local Soviet, provincial Soviet, national Soviet votes on it. If it's a policy relevant to industry, people relevant, if it's a policy relevant to industry for more than 5 years, everyone relevant to that industry must vote, is allowed to vote for it. If it's a policy relevant to industry lower than 5 years, representatives of of each Soviet, the relevant representatives would be the one that vote for it instead of like everyone voted for it, or or people who don't work in that industry. So a relevant industry should, should vote for relevant policies if the policies are pointing to a particular industry. Then it's more than 5 years. So yeah, what else? where the presidency or the triumvirate presidency should be voted on as a popular vote instead of randomization. So, popular vote is everyone in the country votes for the president. The presidency come from the ministers. Like the president can't be someone who was not in the Soviet or in the executive role. For a person to be at the executive or to in order for someone to be the presidency, to be in the presidency, someone has to be that person has to be in the in the in the ministerial roles. In order for someone to be in the admin, in order for someone to be in the ministerial roles, someone has to be in the Soviet or has to be in the within the Soviet, has to be working in the Soviet. So if you want to be a minister, you have to be working. You have to be an executive in the Soviet, like in any Soviet, whether it's a local Soviet or provincial Soviet. You could either be a minister or a councillor in a local Soviet or a minister in a provincial Soviet, or, or a person who is working in government official roles in a in national government. But you have to be someone who's working for government in an executive role or administerial roles before you go into minister of something. See, like you have to be administrating at a lower phase, like local level or provincial level, before you can become national minister. Then from national minister, you can become president. You see, you don't just keep above the minister. You have to work within administrative role at local level or provincial level. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a provincial administrator or you don't have to be a provincial administrator to be minister or to be national minister. You can be local administrator and then get nominated into minister of or you can get nominated to national minister from local government or local Soviet. So a local Soviet has is councillor roles or lower phase minister roles, which are you could have the local Soviet could have the local administrators or the local executive, which are in charge of different industries at a local level. And then there's a chairman. The chairman will handle, will oversee the, the executives of that local Soviet. And also in the provincial Soviet, the chairman of the provincial Soviet will oversee the executives of the of the provincial Soviet, as well as oversee the local Soviets as well. Like the, the local Soviets depends on approval from provincial Soviet, and provincial Soviets depends on approval from national Soviet. Like each Soviet oversees the lower Soviets. So the the chairman of the chairman of provincial Soviets, uh, or the chairman of national Soviet is the presidencies. So the presidencies take the roles of chairman of the national Soviet as well as minister of military and minister of foreign affairs. So the presidency or triumvirate presidency is in charge of three duties for the like the okay four duties because the president is so good. So four duties it's the chairman of the Soviet National Soviet, chairman of the National Soviet, uh, minister of foreign affairs, minister of military, and the presidential role. So the triumvirate presidents in charge. For provincial summit, uh, the chairman, the chairman role is in charge of overseeing the provincial soviet and other things which chairmen can do for the province, is to ensure discipline and cooperation and I don't know. But yeah, the, the chairman of but yeah, the local Soviet and provincial Soviet shouldn't be that different. But the only difference is that the provincial Soviet is at a higher phase. Oh yeah, the chairman of the administration of local Soviet should last for 1 year. The administration of provincial Soviet should last for 2 years. The administration of national Soviet should last for 4 years. So the administrators of local Soviet can work can work in administration roles for 2 years. After 2 years, there's a new election, a new randomization, so that there's a change, or there should be a change, like randomize and nomination, nomination. So for national Soviet, it's 4 years. Uh, the administrators of National Soviet work in National Soviet for 4 years, meaning the ministers, the presidency, um, what else? I don't know, but the ministers, the ministers, the deputy ministers, the presidency. Uh, I don't know how many levels of administrators and national government. But national government should have 4 years of working for the people. Each role, each person in a role has 4 years. So meaning that when when a new president come in, another president has to come out. Like after 4 years, a new presidency, a new president. But for the three presidents, when one president comes out, the other two are left behind. Then a third one comes in through nomination and elections, popular elections. Like these three presidents have to finish their terms, and these two presidents have to finish their terms as well. Instead of like having one and then removing the others as well. You have three presidents, and then when one goes out, the others are left behind. Then another comes in, and then this one goes out, the two are left behind, and then another comes in, and then this one goes out, then left behind. See? So the two presidents have to continue. And yeah, but the ministers don't have to do. The ministers are just a minister and then deputy minister and then other ministers below it. But there's no triumvirate ministers. It's just minister, deputy minister, second deputy minister, something. But there's no triumvirate in ministers. There's only triumvirate in national president. There's no triumvirate in presidents. Then the president has to be three presidents instead of one. Like it's to the reason why they should three president is to divide labor, or to make it easier for presidents to move around. Like instead of one president going from one country to another country, or domestic issues, like another president could be another country, another president could be another country. Another president could be here and focusing on local issues. Another one can be focusing on international issues on the other side, and then another one local issues on the other side. But they don't have to be only focused on one thing. They could rotate, like another one goes to other side, another goes to other side, and then another one stays behind. Like they would rotate. It doesn't have to be one president doing one thing and then another doing another. It's different president. It's president just doing what they think it's possible for them to do at that moment, or what they discuss or what they say. And also for executive orders, the executive orders should not just be one person deciding what the executive order should do. Like this executive order should go for 3 years. The executive order should go for 2 years. So a president can issue executive order, but that executive order should be something that stays for 2 years. If an executive order is issued, the executive if an executive order is issued, the three presidents, well, if an executive order is issued by one president, the two other presidents have to agree with it. Like the executive order or decree is not decided by one president, and then there's no challenge, or there's no review, or it's just it's his own, it's one person's opinion. Like the three presidents is to issue. If one president decides that it should be executive order, the other president should also support that executive order, or uh, they should uh, they should not contradict that executive order. So it's to make sure that the executive order is really important. It's not just what one person decides. It's something that the three people see it as a good option. So yeah, and the executive order lasts for 2 years. Like the executive order should not last for 100 years or many years. The executive order should last for 2, because because the whole point is that the government should be the government the state should be governed by the people. So a, a president should not just issue what he or she thinks is important, but without the consent of the people. So, so yeah, it's uh, also like if there will be maybe some, so, or when the constitution. So for constitutions, I was thinking that uh, the constitution should not last for many years. The constitution should last for at most 30 years, or 25 years. So like 25 years, after 25 years, there should be a referendum of what should be improved, or what should be removed, or what should be changed, or what should be added. So like the constitution must not stay for many years, like without referendum. Every 25 years, a new referendum or a new constitution has to be implemented, or a new social contract has to be implemented. So, including the policies, like the policies which have been placed many years ago, they should be reformed or re-implemented if they are still useful. If they're useful, they're re-implemented. If they're useless, they're discarded, they're removed. But for the policies which are 4 years or less than 4 years, those policies should remain. They should not be removed. But if policies are for more than 5 years, they should be implemented or discarded. If they're useful, implemented; useless, discarded. If policies are less than 4 years, during the referendum, if their policies are less than 5 years, 4 years, whatever, if they're less 4 years, they should not be changed. They should just remain the same. But if they are more than 5 years, they should be revised or re-implemented or discarded if they're useless, discarded. So you see that this, like the constitution has to reflect the principles of living people, not the principles of the dead people. Like the people who lived many years ago should not be the ones that dictate what happens today. Like what happens today should be decided by people who are living today, or people who have been living for at least 25 years, or know what that 25 years is. You see. Like the constitution or the social contract has to be of the living, has to represent the living people. So, mm, but uh, but yeah, man, everyone can be a worker, but not everyone can be rich. So the economy should be based on working, not on being wealthy. So like everyone should be working, whether they are investing or they want to like solve problems or solve problems. Yeah, and also the land question. Like for the land, I think the policy of land should not be should not be state should not be the policy of the land should like people who work that land should be the ones that make profit instead of people who are not working. Like if there is a farm, the land is owned by the people who are farming, not the people who are hoarding the farm, or maybe the farm owners. You see, like the farm owners who are not working. So like I don't think it should be like that. I think the people who are working, the people who are doing the work, whether it's the administrative work or technical work or research work, whatever, the farm should be the people who are working, not the people who are not working. So and also there should be, or there should also be a limit to how big a farm can be, because like if if there should be limit to how much you can own. Like you can own a certain area, maybe you own 500 kilometers squared area of land, but beyond 500 kilometers, I'm not sure, I'm not saying that it's the way it should be, but just a arbitrary number that I'm thinking, like maybe 500 kilometers squared area. Beyond 500 kilometers squared, you can still use that land, but that land is not owned by you. It's the land owned by the state. If there's no one buying that land, then the state owns that land, but you can use it, and then from using it, the state will tax you. You see, like the land should not be hoarded. Like it should be, there should be a limit to how much you can own. Then other people should also have the opportunity of owning their own land, and then from that, if there's no one owning, if there's no one buying the land, then the person can use that land, but the state will tax that person for using excessive land. Even if you make you make profit or you don't make profit, but the point is some other people might also need some land. So having to own too much and then not leave, maybe not in, maybe people might not need that land immediately, but in the future people might need that land. So having to hoard land is not helpful. So at least at some there should be a level. It should be a maximum area to which a farm, whether it's a individual owned farm or business or private sector owned farm, even a state owned farm, like there should be a limit to how much you can own. Then the other area, if the state is not, like the state will not use all the land, because unless it's, I don't think it's okay. But the other area, if the state is not using that land and the person uses that land, but the person already has a maximum amount of land owned, then the state will tax that person for using excessive land. even if the person makes profit. You see. But yeah, I think like mostly mostly it's I don't think that land should be like the stuff that indigenous people should own the land. I think land should be owned by those who are working it. Like if you work the land, you should be the one that own it. And also for state properties, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, state properties. For state properties, like maybe the RDP houses or state housing, the state properties should like the welfare system or the welfare housing. When people are not living, or there should be the housing should not be permanent. Like the housing should not the aid or the welfare should not be charity for poor people. Instead, okay, it should be charity, but it should not be a should not be a profit for poor people. Instead, it should be a welfare, like should help people. Like when person gets a state house, the state must own that house and must do checkups on that house, like to keep the house normal while the person is living there. Like the person does not pay rent, does not pay any money to the state. The state gives that person the house, but the state owns the house, or the state is 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 the one. The state owns the house, but it's only borrowing. It's lending the house to the poor person, but the poor person does not have to pay, or the poor person must not pay, but the state owns that house. Because when the poor person leaves the house, or when the poor person is able to buy himself or herself a new house, the state must keep the house and borrow it to another poor person. So another poor person might also come in and live into the house, and you see the cycle continues. Like the the welfare of the welfare done by the state must not be giving out houses and not be able to sustain the economy of the I don't know it's the economy. I don't think like giving out houses as a welfare is a good option. I think borrowing people housing, or to lend a house until a person can buy himself or herself a house. So that's good. I think that's what the state should do. Like the state should not give property should not donate property to a person, but instead borrow a person, and then that person brings it back or uses it until that person is in good shape to buy himself or herself a new property, a new house, or a new I know if the state gives out a new car. So yeah, I think that's more beneficial for the state. I think the state should also introduce a gulag system, like a prison labor system for prisoners. The prison labor system should be for rapists, murderers, and white collar crime, armed robbery. Uh, what else? But the prison labor should be for heavy crimes, including the white collar crime. The reason why is for that because and also but for okay yeah the heavy crime should be prison labor, should be punished by prison labor. So the profits from the prison labor, 50% of the profit goes to the state and 50% goes to victims of the crime. Like if a person was raped, the 50% of the state of the prison labor goes to a person who was raped. If a person was murdered, the 50% goes to the next of kin of a person who was murdered. 50% of the profit from prison labor goes to the people who are victims of the criminals. And I think that would help to boost to punish the criminals and also to give grief to help people who are going through grief, like to have people being punished for their crimes instead of having a death sentence. A death sentence is useless because the people who did a crime that deserves a death sentence will they will die in the death sentence, but the victims will live on without any justice or any like the justice. I think the justice of death sentences is not helpful. Like it does not punish the people who did the crime. Like in the long run, but in the short run, maybe it does make the sense that someone has been killed or someone has been punished. But I think it's not enough. I think like prison labor would be beneficial, would 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 be a good punishment for criminals. And like 50% of the profit goes to the state, 50% goes to the victims of the crime. And what else? Uh, yeah, it's almost 2 hours now. Yeah, but yeah, I think mostly you should focus on like socialism on behalf of the socialism being driven by the workers and being done by the workers instead of socialism being done by other people in the name of helping workers. I think mostly should be done by the workers for the workers and everyone else. Mm, like everyone can be a worker, but not everyone can be rich. You see, the economy should be based on working, not on wealth. But yeah, and then the private, like personal wealth, is not an issue, or it's not a problem. Problem is private wealth. By private wealth, I mean getting people to work for you and they don't make any money, but the person who's the shareholder or the owner gets the profit, but instead the person is not working. So the problem I think is in private sector, and in order to to make the private sector work, I think there should be worker cooperatives instead of demolishing private sector. Because I think if you demolish private sector or you just nationalize everything, I think that will end up being a disaster because if everything is nationalized, everything will have to rely on tax. Like everything will be based on tax. Whether it needs tax or it doesn't need tax, it will just be consumed by the need for tax or for taxation. You see. I don't think like that's a good idea to nationalize everything. But I think the heavy industries should be national industries or should be mainly controlled by national industry by the state. For light industries, I think they should mainly remain with private sector yeah, with private sector. But the private sector should be by worker cooperatives instead of instead of like instead of capitalist companies. And also the unions must have their own companies instead of like relying on rhetoric or complaining about capitalism or complaining about worker exploitation. The unions should own their own companies, and they should, but their company should not be permanent employment. The companies owned by unions should be temporary employment. The reason for temporary employment is to is to is to is to not is to discourage unions from from misconduct. Like if unions get to get if unions make companies that will permanently employ workers, the unions might jeopardize other private companies. Like other private companies can other the workers in other private companies can 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 complain about everything and then rely on unions to step to step in for them, and the unions might disrupt the companies, whether they're state-owned companies or private-owned companies, and then unions just invoke strikes and hire and take those workers who were striking into their own companies and then hire them permanently. You see? But if you have unions that temporarily employ workers, the workers might strike and then get temporary employment from union work owned companies. But after a certain period, like maybe 12 months, the workers have to find a permanent job or have to find a new job because the unions have to have to honor a temporary agreement, or they should be for temporary employment of the companies owned by unions should be temporary employment. They should not be permanent employment. The reason why the union should own a company is because when when companies fire workers, the companies uh, they sometimes rehire the workers or they don't rehire the workers. Whether the workers go to court or unions go to court, they might still lose. You see, so the reason why for unions to have companies or temporary companies is sort of a golden parachute for workers who were embroiled in a strike or in being discontent with with uh, with their companies, so the unions can take the workers in and find a new solution for, or find or and look for a new company for the workers, or encourage workers to build their own worker cooperatives or something. But the union should not own a company which employs workers permanently. The union should only just look out for the workers if they don't win their strike or if they don't win against a company, just to help them out temporarily. Uh, and if uh, but I think that's it though. That's it. Like everything I've was saying. Oh yeah, if countries need to expand, say like maybe there's a country which needs to, or if people want to expand their countries, like maybe South Africa expands to Lesotho expands South Africa, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, or some other country. Like if countries expand, there should be 70% support from both sides. Like 70% support from the other side that the countries should merge or should form one republic. Then the other side should 70% from the other side should support that the country should form one republic instead of having an invasion into another country and then having a disaster. Like there should be 70% support from both sides, like something which is more appealing to 70% of the population is to support a merger between two republics or three republics or 90 republics or how many, no matter how many republics. You see, like a workers international or a workers, the internationalism of workers should be something that is consensual for all people or for most people. It should be something that's consensual for most people. Like it should be something that is decided by one person or few people, and then everyone rejects it. Like a bourgeoisie system. Like a bourgeoisie is by bourgeoisie or fewer people, and then everyone else disagrees or most people disagree, but it doesn't matter. So I think the workers' internationalism has to be focused on majority and support from many people. So the expansion of countries or merger of country of republics should be by the population 70% at least 7% of the population supported from the two republics or three republics. From each republic, not the average of the republics. Like each republic, 70%, the other republic 70%, the other republic 70%, 7% for each republic to support the merger or the or support the merger or the unification of the republics. Yeah, that's what I. Mm, Yeah, thanks, guys. If you do watch this, please comment what you don't understand or what you think is far more better than what I think, because I am not sure too. But I think like the state has to be driven by workers for a better functioning systems and functioning institutions, as well as put polygraph tests so that no one is being corrupt. Like every 2 months, polygraph test, and the gulag or the prison labor for people who did bad things. For petty criminals, yeah. For petty criminals, like criminals who did small things, like I don't think that they should be on heavy criminal or prison labor. I think they should just be small, or they should be in jail, or or maybe punishment, just small punishment. So, but what I think is far more useful, far more, in my personal opinion, on petty criminals, maybe the people that steal purses or steal phones. I think for those people, like it's better to beat them. It's like beat them, like to beat them and then take them to the police. Maybe they stay in the police station for 2 days or 3 weeks, but the punishment should be by the community. You see, I think that's far more better for as a community discipline rather than taking them to prison and then they become more criminal more criminal educated. See, like I think the community should just discipline the person and then they take them to the police. Then in the police they just stay for 2 days or 3 days and then it does. But it's not something that I think should be heavily punished. And but the community should handle that discipline. Like if the community beats up the person, the community must beat up the person. Yeah, I think that's, I don't know, but yeah, 2 hours, 2 hours. Yeah, because I think, I think, I think we should solve problems. I think should solve problems, like mainly to build institutions and systems. Oh, another thing I wanted to say, the use of money, like the institutions or the money, like the I think there should be two ways of trade, and like two ways of trade, like the trade in terms of currency or in terms of money, as well as the trade in terms of bartering. So the bartering trade comes in when there's a crisis in global currency. When there's a crisis in global currency, there is a system of bartering where you see a formal system of bartering, a system by which there is police enforcement and law. So there is regulation for that bartering. Like if a person barters fake things, the person can be arrested. Or if a person does or is not doing fair trade, you see, they can be regulated. You see, so there should be a bartering system for when currency currency trade or currency global currency fails. When the pyramid scheme or when the global pyramid scheme fails, the bartering system should kick in. Or if there is sanctions against a country, if there's sanctions against a country, a bartering system should kick in, like a formal bartering system. But the bartering system should be temporary, like not for more than maybe 5 months or 3 months, but should be mainly for emergencies. See, like the enforcement of bartering is by law and by policing or regulations. Uh, the currency when or the currency, I think for fixing the currency, I think the currency the the money which is currency should not it should be it should have an expiry date. You see, like when money is printed, the money should have an expiry date. Like the money doesn't go for till infinity. Like the money is still valuable. Like the money should have expiry date. Like after 2 years, a currency note or a currency coin should expire. Like after 2 years, the money should be returned to government for a renewal or should be returned to government for purchase. So when you return to government, when you return the currency, you either get a service or you get a product or you get goods or whatever, you get something, or you get a renewal of the currency that you placed into the you gave back into the state, and you return it before must there should be a return date, like a return, or you should return it before the 2 years. Like if you're returning it, you must return after the the expiry date. See, like this, the reason why the currency should be expired is that if the currency or money can be hoarded, and if it's hoarded, then you see, like we are doing the same thing again. You see, like the bourgeoisie are gonna hold the money, and then nothing changes. So the money should have expiry date, and then return, and then the expiry date. Then the person has to return the money before the expiry date. If the person returns money after expiry date, then the money must have depreciated. By depreciated, I mean maybe it has reduced its value by half or two times or something, but it must have depreciated. See, so the person must return the money before due date. Then when the money is returned, the money is either renewed or a product is given to the person, or a product or service is given to the person. The reason is because we don't want hoarding. There should be no hoarding. There should be trade, or if there is hoarding, there should be hoarding of products which are finite. Like maybe a person hoards a car. Like a car is gonna get damaged at some point. Like not infinite as compared to currency. Currency is just kept and then never retires, or it never ends. It never expires. So it does depreciate, but it depreciates very slow. Very, very, very slow. So yeah, I think should focus on like getting people to not hoard, man, but to to trade or to make use of, man, instead of hoarding. You see, even houses they do need fuel. You see, my houses don't depreciate quickly, but the money is just slowly. Unless they got sanctions, then if sanctions happen, then money depreciate quickly, or if the if there are problems with the economy, then money depreciates quickly. But normally, uh, currency gets hoarded, and then people keep it for a long time. But I think there should be depreciation of money. There should be bartering system. But the bartering system, like there should be bartering of things which are equivalent, almost equivalent, like bartering of fruits, or you say bartering of fruits, bartering of clothes, bartering of um, of complex products. By complex products, I mean like bartering of computers, cell phones, bartering of video games or PlayStation or whatever. So there should be bartering of equivalent things. Don't like if you're bartering things which are non-equivalent, then uh, there should be there should be like there should be amount by which there should be amount by which uh, of exchange, the amount of exchange, like how many apples for clothes, how many clothes for complex products, how many clothes for video games, how many clothes for a car. This is like the equivalent. They say like if there's a pattern for apples and a cell phone, like how many apples should be there for one phone. So like I think that should be the what's taken into account. But for equivalent things, like an apple is equal to an orange equivalent is equal to a banana, like the same things for the same for the same fruit. For the vegetables, maybe there could be slight variations, maybe two apples for one cabbage, one apple for one tomato. See, bartering for equivalences. But for non-equivalent things, or for for bartering fruits for complex items, maybe there should be many fruits or many foods for complex products, and many clothes for or many foods for clothes, or anything that can be bartered. So, but should be bartering standard, which is legal, because when sanctions or a crisis in currency happens, there should be trade, there should be labor, should be trade. You see, and also if there is a currency crisis, whether sanctions or currency crisis or global currency failure, the bartering should also happen in workplaces, like when there should be a requisition. So the state, if there is a if there is a crisis, the state should be able to make requisitions at each company which pays tax. Like all the companies that pay tax should be now be doing requisitions. Like the companies that produce things, 50% of those production stays with the company, 50% goes to the state. The state distributes those things to other companies that are also producing things or making services. So when companies are doing services, they have to also do services for the state, as in make commitments to work for the state or work for other companies to which the state has allocated them to. Like when like 50% of the services to the state or allocation to the state. For the companies that produce goods, 50% of the goods goes to the state, 50% stays behind. 50% of the produce of the produce or the goods which have been collected by the state, they are redistributed to other companies or other workplaces. So all the workers that are working, they receive stuff from the state. The reasons for this is while currency is failing or is not working, there should be a bartering standard to assist people or to assist workers, and also from workers assist people, because you can't do anything if workers are not there. You can't get food without workers. You can't get clothes without workers. You can't get delivery services without workers. You can't get pizza without workers. You can't get nothing without workers. So there should be priority on workers, then from workers to everyone else. So that's what I think. Is that there should be a bartering system for trade and also workplace, like how or bartering system for trade and tax. So a tax the service industries are gonna allocate 50% of their services to issues or to what the state to what the state appoints to them. Like 50% if like 50% delivery service is what the state decides the company should do for delivery. 50% of the other 50% of produce is what the state allocates to other companies. The other 50% stays behind and does um, the workers work. They will decide what happens with the other 50%. In case people are not convinced that maybe the state will become corrupt and become, you must ensure that there is a gulag, there is a prison labor for corrupt. The prison labor will enforce the prison labor will make there should be a gulag system. So corrupt officials do corruption things. They will go and work there. They will be punished in the prison labor. You see, so the prison labor will be corruption, murderers, rapists, white collar crime, robbery, whatever. If something is not like if something is truly bad, the prison labor will be the one that punishes the people who did their bad things. So that's what I think, that prison there should be bartering system, and also polygraph test will ensure that politicians are being honest. Listen, the politicians, the administrators, because the administrators will be workers, or the administrators will be the people who are appointed by workers and randomized by workers. So it won't be people who have no experience or no expertise on the issues that are being solved. So when allocation happens, it's allocation by people relevant to those industries. but with approval from the presidency, obviously. So the presidency has to approve, is to make sure that no one is ill-disciplined or no one is doing bad things or being unfair. So yeah, 2 hours, 15 minutes. Yeah, guys, I think I'll end now. Yeah, I think I'll end because this stream has been happening for 2 hours. Yeah, if you think there's some ideas or something, I don't know, respond somewhere. I don't know, respond. Maybe in the comments or something. I don't know. But I think that's it. Thanks. Thank you.